So today, beautifuls, we're going to continue on our journey. And I said our November theme was around celebrating tribal, it was sort of based on Native American Heritage Month's theme, which is celebrating tribal sovereignty and identity. And so for us, it's about what does that mean for us? What does sovereignty mean for us? What does identity mean for us? It's a beautiful thing to look at Native American and indigenous peoples when we think about this idea, because sometimes we get so bogged down in our lives, we get so bogged down in the hurts and in the pains and in the past, and we think there is no way that I can move forward. There is no way that I can pick myself up from this floor to live my life. But see, when we look at indigenous peoples and communities, we see a brilliant and beautiful example of what is possible, what all of us carry within us that is possible, that we are peoples who have been made to be resilient. We are not broken people. We have broken circumstances. And this is what I want us to move forward in today, in this knowing and in this knowledge. See, there's spiritual traditions that want to sort of live in that brokenness. And hey, if that is your game, that is your bag, all in it. I honor where everyone is at on their journey, but that's not mine. That is not ours in unity, because there is brokenness around us, but we eternally are not broken. We come into this iteration of life as powerful beings. Jesus said, these things you shall do and more. So we are anointed, each and every one of us, with that potential, that possibility to live grand lives. We forget that. Yes, amen. We forget that. And Marcia said in the prayer, it is a remembering. See, because we want to think we got to learn this. We're kind of coming to this information. No, this is stuff that is in our DNA. This is stuff that is already coming in our spiritual lineage. It's just remembering, coming to consciousness about it. Like, yeah, that makes sense. See, who came to unity? Maybe some of us even who are relatively recent, and there was something that was said that just hit you in the gut. It was like a drop kick, right? A good one, if that is a good. You were dropped like, whoa. You know, and the intellectual mind will play tricks on you. The intellectual mind will say, ooh, that sounded hokey. That's kind of woo-woo. That stuff just sounds a little out there, right? Like, ooh, what's she been smoking kind of thing. Right? But your gut will never deceive you, because something in you said, wait a minute. Ooh, maybe you even got chills, or something in you said, there's something here for me. That is your soul. That is your spirit remembering who you are. That's saying, come home. Come home. I've been waiting for you to wake up. Come home. And so we come home in this awareness today. Now, last week, we talked about dancing with our ancestors, and part of that, too, is the coming home to ourselves, releasing and letting go of the past stories of our ancestral lineage, whatever that might mean for us, letting go of those things, letting go of those shames. You know, I have had people who've come to me and said, you know, I lived in the South, or I did my ancestry.com, and I found out, you know, that my predecessors were slaveholders. It's funny that we were talking about this last week, and my cousin sends me a message this week and says, guess what, cuz? I just did a DNA thing, and she breaks down all of these, and my grandfather and the mother of that person and the father of that person. And apparently, according to Ancestry.com, I am a descendant of Hernán Cortés, who conquered Mexico and tried to eradicate indigenous peoples. Oh my gosh, right? No, that's not heavy at all. I was like, whoa, I guess I got a lot of clearing to do today. You know? But we can't hold on to that. We're letting all of that stuff go. We're transforming transforming it. Because sometimes we don't want to let it go because it becomes fuel for us. It becomes sacred medicine for us as we move to do better, as we move to remember. So sometimes it's not for letting go. Sometimes we think we have to let all the baggage go. Sometimes that becomes our fire. And so we hold, but we transform. I want to talk to you a little bit about sovereignty so that we understand, we're kind of level setting here. Like, what does that mean? It's kind of a big word, right? I'm going to read the definition from this book, The Seven Queendoms, A Soul Map for Embodying Sacred Feminine Sovereignty by Dr. Rima Bonario, who was one of my teachers at Unity. And so she talks about sovereignty, right? And I want to give you the definition that she offers today. And see, why last week the same thing happened. Spirit is just playing with me like I cannot find my bearing here with my stuff. All right. Sovereignty, she says, is defined as supreme power and authority free from external control. It is a state of self-governance. So many of us don't know really what that means. Some of us have lived, though we don't think we have, we've lived in a constant state of unsovereignty because who we are has been constantly defined by external circumstances or other people. It started with what? Our family, right? Our parents. This is who you are. This is who you should be. No, you need to look like this or wear this or talk to these people or don't talk to these people. We were molded into something. We didn't always have that connection to who we really were. Maybe we move on to school, right? Whew, let me tell you, school is a serious place of conditioning, right? Even in the sense of sitting in a chair. My daughter was diagnosed with ADHD when she was young, and school was not fun for her because that type of education is made for a type of person with a type of mental kind of figuration, which she wasn't. Her brain felt and thought and acted differently, and so it was very difficult for her in that. But again, it was molding her. No, sit here. No, stand in that line. No, move when I tell you to move. And so we're conditioned in so many ways. Dr. Rima Bonario calls it that we are in a golden cage because everything looks so pretty sometimes. And yet when we filter it down to the basic level, we are in a cage. Or we move on in our lives and we have relationships, right? Anybody been with somebody that tried to change you? Don't lie. Y'all know you did. Don't make me the only one. Thank you, Lynn, for saying, yes, I'm going to testify on that one. We've all been there, and so we don't realize how all of these different levels of relationship, of history, start kind of tearing at who we really are to the point where we may not even know. Here's what she says. For most of us who think we are, for most of us, who we think we are isn't our truest self. It's a mask of some sort that hides the brilliance and beauty of who you are from the world and maybe even from ourselves. Our society is not set up to allow for soul-level inquiry and exploration as part of the process of growing up, especially if you don't have the resources necessary to engage effective teachers or take time and space to meet your soul. That's an important thing when we think about it, you all. The fact that we can sit in here is a privilege. We don't think about that sometimes. Some people innately may have deeper connections to themselves, but some of us need a little bit more to remember. And so the fact that we can have that liberty to pay to take a class or be here and not have to work, 2-3 jobs, that is a beautiful privilege that we should never forget and that we should always be grateful for. You know, she goes on to talk about this funny thing, which she says is called the Not Enough Club. Let me read a couple things to see if anybody else says, yep, I'm a card-carrying member of that sucker. Not enough energy to complete the never-ending task list. Not enough time to be and do what's really important. Not enough support to allow moments of rest that you deserve. Not enough money to cover the growing cost of living. Not enough love to meet the deep longing in your heart. And not enough freedom to create the life of your dreams. Who's carrying a card for that club right now? Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for those of us that say that, because some of us have left some of it. Maybe we got a lower tier membership like at Sam's. We don't have the executive membership anymore, right? But we might still have that membership. Or maybe we don't. But many of us do. That's what brings us to spiritual community, because we're searching, we're wanting to find out what more is there. And sometimes we feel that we don't have the answers. You know, that not enough club, here's what happens when we carry that card with us. You feel constantly driven, operating at high speeds on an empty tank. You feel frazzled or frustrated or overworked, and you're overdoing. You feel drained, cranky, irritable, and not in the mood for any loving. You feel tired and run down, perhaps even facing significant health challenges. See, here's where we're going to talk on for a quick minute. Many of us face health challenges, but they're health challenges that are the result of stress. And again, this is not spiritual wisdom. Those spiritual teachers have been telling us this for decades from all kinds of traditions or lineages. But science is telling us that now, that our bodies will claim their price that we have done to them. All of these things about being in this not enough club, they rest in the recesses of our cells, of our bodies, of our minds, and they take its toll eventually. But that doesn't mean that we have to stay there. It's just that we recognize that all of these things are creating these illnesses, these dis-eases, because we are not in ease, we are not in harmony, we are not in balance with how our lives and our spirits are meant to come and be in this iteration of life. So that with our health, you feel overwhelmed, undervalued, unappreciated. You feel shut down or numbed or disengaged. You feel hopeless. You feel trapped. Anybody feel hopeless or trapped? Okay, Mary Beth O'Heaney raised 2 hands. She was like, yes, Jesus. Thank you. We're all here because nobody is better than you. I'm not better than you. I'm always in a journey here with you all. We are doing this together. The sovereignty that we're trying to remember is that we do have the power. All of this becomes the curse, as Dr. Rima Benario says, of unsovereignty. So we're letting go of this curse, from not a dark, deep place in that sense of what we think about a curse. I'm going to send something around today. I'm going to ask somebody to come up and help me. Maybe Dawn, can I ask you for a favor? I'm going to ask you to pass this back on this row, and I'm going to ask you to hand that over to that row. All right? Today we're going to be looking further into this idea from this book called Braiding Sweetgrass. I'm about to start a class on Wednesday, and it's by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This book was written about 10 years ago, but it is a most amazing book. If you don't even come to the class, I really encourage you to read it. I had the privilege of reading this book in May. I was going to speak at Unity Transformations in Knoxville. And something just said, I've had this book for years. And I don't know why Spirit said, pull that book out, take it. Maybe I was going to have an extra day. I had the privilege and honor of being given housing when I was there. And it was in the foothills of the Smokies. Dang, I love my life sometimes, y'all. And so it was beautiful. It was this beautiful log cabin home, and the creek was outside, and I could hear the creek at night, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. And I stepped into this book, Braiding Sweetgrass. And it was like Spirit said, no, if you're going to read this and you're going to enter into this conversation, you got to be in the right place at the right time. You're going to do it right, girl. And that's what happened. It's all about this idea of indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, and the teaching of plants. And so I got to read and be in this experiment at some level, in this deep learning while I was there in that classroom. So I'm asking you all to pass this back. Take a minute with this sweetgrass. I was inspired by this book to actually plant my own sweetgrass. So that's sweetgrass that comes from my garden. So this was a first time thing, and so got a decent amount batch. One is a braided sweetgrass, the other is just sweetgrass, kind of in a bundle. But here's what I want to read from this so that we kind of move into this space. Hold out your hands and let me lay upon them a sheaf of freshly picked sweetgrass, loose and flowing like newly washed hair, golden green and glossy above the stem, and banded with purple and white flowers that meet the ground. Hold the bundle up to your nose. Find the fragrance of honeyed vanilla over the scent of wiver raced and black earth, and you understand its scientific name, Heliochlore odorata, meaning sweet-smelling hair of Mother Earth. Breathe it in, and you start to remember things that you didn't even know you had forgotten. She goes on in this beautiful book to talk about many things, but one of the things she talks about is the fact that there are so many things in nature that really are a reflection of our lives. That most of us just look at plants as things, they're pretty, okay, these are fake, y'all, but let's pretend they're real, right? We look at them and we say, oh, they're pretty, right? Or there's something about them that calls to us. But what she's saying is that these are our brothers and sisters. These are our siblings. And so there's something about wisdom that is locked in these beautiful things that we just sort of pass by as ornamental. But part of it is what she's saying is for us to take a deeper dive. Will you look? Look at the end of the bundle, my braid. Hands joined by grass, can we bend our heads together and make a braid to honor the earth? Then I'll hold it for you, and you can hold mine too. She's saying that this process of braiding sweetgrass, of looking at sweetgrass, of looking at plants is this beautiful way for us to think about our relationship to ourselves, to each other, and to the entire universe, that we are all deeply connected, that we are all part of this story, but it's not mine to give or to take. When Gosh, which is what they call sweetgrass in her tradition, belongs to herself, sweetgrass has its own sovereignty, its own identity, its own power, as do each and every one of you. So I offer it today as a place, a braid of stories meant to heal our relationship with the world. The braid is woven from the strands indigenous ways of knowing, scientific knowledge, and the story of the Anishinaabe Society of Scientists that she is, trying to bring all of them together in service to what matters most. It's an intertwining of science, spirit, and story. She calls it a pharmacopoeia of healing. To imagine different relationships in which people and land are good medicine for each other. This is all important as we move forward to thinking about our own sovereignty. What does this mean? How do we understand ourselves? But let's go back a little bit. When we think about how we understand ourselves, much of it comes from our religious teachings. And even though some of us may not say, well, I never went to church, or I wasn't, in this particular type of religious tradition, it still permeates every aspect of how we live our lives, whether we realize it or not. All of the things, our way our society is set up, all of the movies, all of the messaging, we have been downloaded with all of this messaging of unworthiness our whole lives, and much of it comes from the footholds of a particular religious tradition that anchors themselves in this. Because I'm going to tell you all that sometimes we don't want to say Christian because we think Christianity has gotten such a bad rep. But what we know, what the world for the most part knows, is one version of Christianity. Are y'all hearing me on that? See, somebody that wrote the book were the ones that had the power. But that wasn't the only way we come to this conversation. And so all of this history is being unearthed, has been unearthed. This is part of what we offer the world. It is a metaphysical Christianity that may come from the Gnostic tradition, that may come from other traditions, but it's a way of understanding where we come to this conversation from a very different perspective. So all of this, let's think about Adam and Eve. If we go back, right? That story of Adam and Eve. Man, Eve messed up, right? That apple. And what happens from that? See, we think about it as funny because it is kind of silly and funny and wild and hairy when you think about it. But so much of the oppression of women has been anchored on that story. Somebody tell me yes. So much of that. And so we come into the conversation with a very different way of understanding ourselves. See, all of this is a way that we understand ourselves. One of the things I like to do when I start my introductory unity classes is for us to write what God is. And I guarantee you that much of what you believe in God is what you're going to believe in yourself, because we are in this symbiotic relationship with this thing we call God, right? The understanding of it is a symbiosis. And so when you do that, when you change and you flip the script about what you believe in God, and you believe that you are a child of the Most High, that you too are anointed, you flip the script on how you see yourself and your life. This is a change. The author of this book shares their creation story, which is so much different. Their creation story comes from what is called the Sky Mother, who descended from the earth, they don't know how, and fell upon the earth, and she was actually caught by the doves in the air so that she didn't crash to the earth. And all of the animals gathered to decide how they were going to support her. And so they were trying to know that she had the turtle, this is why our area, all of the natives call this area, all of North America, Turtle Island, because it was a turtle that gave that first creation ability to the Sky Woman. So long story short, they take some mud, they put it on the turtle's back, and from that the land became. and the Sky Woman's legacy began. But she came to the earth with this bundle, and what was in this bundle were seeds. And so the seeds were spread on the turtle's back, and we have the universe that was then created from this. It is a very different story. Do you all hear the difference in that? The woman comes, and in co-creation with nature, in co-creation and in collaboration, everyone doing their part, everyone thinking about how they can support this project, move together in relationship to grow and to heal and to produce and to be. It may not sound like a big deal, but ultimately it is, because we carry these toxic stories in, again, our bodies about who we are and who we can't be. The guilt, the shame of who we have been or who we were told we were. All of this is this beautiful way for us to understand when we think about what our sovereignty is, what our identity is, who we've come here to be. I was talking to the mother of our church, Miss Maxine Caruth, who is 93. Did I get that right, Miss Maxine? 94, excuse me. She's like, you better give me my one other year. 94. And we're doing this class called Micro Memoirs, and she shared in the class that, you know, she came to Unity in the 70s, and for her, the aha was like, I can be in a spiritual community that is not telling me that I'm a sinner, that is telling me that I should feel guilty, that is telling me that I'm bad, that is telling me I'm going to go to hell, that is telling me I better be anointed with the blood of Jesus or I'm not going to heaven. Anybody been there? Not me. Yes, me. But she said, I came into Unity and I couldn't believe that I was being told I was a child of the divine, that I came to this iteration of life to be prosperous, that I came to be abundant life you shall have, Jesus said. Coming into these spaces where we are claiming that sovereignty again, claiming the truth of our being, we are remembering. We are braiding, right? There's 3 strands to the braid. Mother, Father, God, the Son, the Holy Spirit, mind, body, spirit, thought, word, deed. We are braiding all of that together, all of these disparate things that have caused us to think that we are not sovereign, that we don't have power in and of ourselves. And so we're braiding today. Braiding your own stories of truth today. I invite you to think through what this braiding means for you. How you are pulling the disparate pieces of your life to braid something together that is bold, that is beautiful, that is magical, that is mystical, that is God anointed. Because that is the truth of what you have been brought here to create. What is your name, beautiful, right there with the plaid shirt? Mary? Mary. That is what you've been brought here to this iteration of life to do, to be great. Not to just live and be okay, to be great. And so we remember that today. What are you braiding? How do you reclaim your sovereignty? I want to share with you something. See, spirit, let me tell you, spirit is a trip. I come this morning and I open the Unity mail and I get this letter. I was like, okay, I hear you, Spirit. This is what it says. Dear Unity. I'm not making this up, by the way, y'all. This is not like for performance, like this, not a prop. This is for real. I got this in the mail today. Dear Unity, many years ago, my mother and I attended church there. I've been in recovery called ACA, which is Adult Children of Alcoholics, for approximately 1.5 years. As I work my steps, I have memories that came back. I had a flash memory of taking money from the offering plate. I'm sorry. As part of my recovery, I'm trying to right some of my wrongs. I called and left a message a few weeks ago. The sweetest return call was made, and I received grace. Thank you, with a little heart. I feel since I took the money, I will give it back. I know this falls short, but I pray that it is multiplied for his works. Much love to all. And $100 was in this envelope. Let me tell you what God did for us this morning. It reminded us that in all of these steps, our sovereignty is returned to us. In all of these small steps that we take when Spirit says, you know what, I remember the offering plate. What are the $100 they're going to do? What do they care? It didn't matter. This person knew that this was important for their spiritual growth and development to reclaim who they were in their power. Come on, y'all. Did you hear me on that? But let me tell you something about these $100. These $100 come graced and blessed with a sovereignty that is beyond our imagination. And so I'm going to claim these $100. I'm going to claim this spiritual gift. I'm going to claim this person's sovereignty today as an abundance for this community that we will never even imagine the depths of what we will begin right here and right now. Does somebody appreciate that today? We never know how and when the Spirit will speak. But I said it last week, and I will say it again, and I will say it every week if I need to. We must listen. We must listen. That gut will say, do this. Talk to this person. Go here. Ooh, don't go here. Break up with him for sure. We got to listen so that we can begin to experience that true identity, that true sovereignty in the Spirit, so that our spirits will soar, so that we will live and love and feel grace and feel joy and feel positivity and feel health and feel wholeness and completeness in our power. Who wants that here today? I want to remind you all that this is possible. I'm going to close by just saying this, that sometimes we think there is no way out of the hole that we have dug ourselves in. There is no way out of our life of addiction. There is no way out of this depression. There's no way out of this constant health challenge, one after the other. But I'm here to tell you, and all the other people who are here who have been in unity across years will tell you, it's like an AA. It works if you work it. So we must practice our principles. See, it sounds cute to come to Sunday service. Ooh, I feel lifted up. Who felt lifted up today? Like, yes. All right, great. But what are you going to do when you go out those doors? Don't get mad at me for saying that. What are you going to do today? Not tomorrow, not a week from then, not a month. What will you do today when you walk out those doors to say, this is a thing I will do to claim my sovereignty now? Y'all ready for that? And so it is.